Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last nail is being driven into the coffin of the American Republic, yet Congress remains in total denial as our liberties are rapidly fading before our eyes. The process is propelled by unwarranted fear and ignorance as to the true meaning of liberty. It is driven by economic myths, fallacies, and irrational good intentions. The rule of law is constantly rejected, and authoritarian answers are offered as panaceas for all our problems.
Gold will be seen as an alternative to paper money as it returns to its historic role as money. Erosion of civil liberties here at home will continue as our government responds to political fear in dealing with the terrorist threat by making generous use of the powers obtained with the Patriot Act. Many American military personnel and civilians will be killed in the coming conflict. The leaders of whichever side loses the war will be hauled into and tried before the International Criminal Court for war crimes. The United States will lose the war, but neither will we win. Our military and political leaders will not be tried by the International Criminal Court. The Congress and the President will shift radically toward expanding the size and scope of the federal government. This will satisfy both the liberals and the conservatives. Military and police powers will grow, satisfying the conservatives. The welfare state, both domestic and international, will expand, satisfying the liberals. Both sides will endorse military adventurism overseas. This is the most important.
24 А в нашем классе.
89,3.
Now, what's going on here is this police officer is fingering this woman on the side of the road. She's putting her fingers into her rectum and into her vagina on the street, on the road, in front of everybody, for being pulled over for throwing a cigarette out the window. Jesus, I think of how many times I've thrown a cigarette out the window. God, I'm a horrible person. I'm so glad I didn't get butt searched on the side of the road from some cops. It's just a little tiny insight into the future. I want to make a little string chart like those genius crazy guys do. You know, where they take yarn and connect all the dots. But what does this roadside cavity search have to do with the future of America? Well, I think what it really has to say is fear. You guys should be freaking afraid of what's coming. They don't care about you. They don't care about your wives. They don't care about your daughters. What if this was your wife, man? No, it's cool. What if that's your 13-year-old daughter? That's cool. That's what those guns are for. It's to keep respect. They don't respect you. They're afraid, and they want everyone else to be afraid. Let's think about it, okay? The New World Order. The New World Order. What is that? It's global governance. Who seems to be the big daddies of that? Well, I can assume it's those fucking banker bastards. The ones that should be in jail. Their greed knows no limit. Now, this is part of the UN's problem. Agenda 21. What's Agenda 21? Well, it's one of the legs that props up the New World Order. And that's to get all the people to move into the big cities and to let the United States specifically, because right now I'm talking about the good old U.S. I'm not talking about frickin' Bangladesh right now. I don't care about Bangladesh right now. I don't really care about Pakistan right now. I'm talking about the U.S., okay? What does that mean for the U.S.? They're going to crowd. Agenda 21 is crowding everybody into the cities and letting all the country, the countryside, like where I live, go back to the wild so that we can have hunter games in there for rich people. Now, how are they going to achieve Agenda 21? Well, I can tell you right now, they're going to need to get rid of all these guns. Now, it's not revolvers they're worried about. It's semi-automatics with big magazines. I mean, they've really dropped their pants on their intentions on that. They are worried as hell about a bunch of citizens with semi-automatics, right? They're not worried about the musket guys. They know from experience in Iraq that a bunch of ragtag guerrillas with semi-automatic assault rifles, light weapons, are the ones to worry about. Guerrillas don't use heavy weapons. Guerrillas don't have giant guns. Guerrillas carry just enough ammo to shoot and run. And those sons of bitches are scrapping around in the sand, but they're still giving us a run for the money. How do they do it? Run. Shoot and run. Shoot and run. Not get in a direct confrontation. Do not make strongholds. You need to be tactical. You need to think ahead. You need a contingency plan, an escape route, a cache buried somewhere. You need some food and some water. You notice they're picking on that too. Why? Because they know there are going to be extended sieges. And what these sons of bitches are going to do, let's talk about this. Dumb, deep underground military bases. They've spent trillions of our dollars, not other people's dollars, not that British fuck
what's his name, who's against guns dollars, not his money, no, American dollars were spent on those underground bases. And I want to know who is going to be allowed to go in there. I'm sure that I paid something out of that. They sure didn't take a bunch of taxes out of my checks. So maybe I paid for a seat in a goddamn underground bunker. But do you think that's going to be given to me? No. What they'll do is close the door on the hatch. I can just put up with the radiation, or the chemicals, or the guns, or the violence, or the mayhem that these banker sons of bitches, in cohesion with our politicians, allow to happen. And Hillary Clinton, you are the goddamn turd of the year. Oh, I fell down and got a concussion. I can't testify at Benghazi. I didn't even go see a goddamn doctor. Why don't you send some U.S. Marshals over there and arrest her for crimes? That was a botched kidnapping attempt, you stupid law enforcement sons of bitches. Why don't you go get your goddamn SWAT gear on and go fucking strip search some girl on the side of the road, you cowards? You're nothing but cowards. Why would the government spend money like there's no tomorrow? Food stamps for everyone. They keep talking about the fiscal cliff. You know, they like to scare us with the fiscal cliff. You know, a guy with his checkbook completely upside down, bounce checks all over town. He sits down with his wife and says, "We need to talk, honey. We're at a fiscal cliff. We got an impasse here. What are we going to do? Well, we can print some more money." Why? Because they really don't care about the long-term integrity of our country. That son of a bitch who's the president doesn't care about our country more than the next couple of years. Because pretty soon, maybe he'll get to be president of the world. What kind of crazy asshole would want to be the president? What kind of crazy asshole with a record of a bunch of fail would want to be the president again? Let me think. What kind of person would want to be the president? A freaking psychotic asshole. That's who. Some crazy guy that wants a bunch of power and sat there and listened to his CIA mother and his communist daddy sit there and program him about how bad white dudes are, and about how bad America is, and about how bad capitalism is. Capitalism works, you dumbasses. We got robbed. Thieves came in the middle of the night and robbed us. Actually, they came during the middle of the day while people were sitting there hypnotized watching the television. Who's telling them they don't need a gun? Why? What do they care? What does the government care about some massacre someplace? There's been massacres all the time. There was a massacre at my work in 1988. That was a long time ago. It's been happening forever. Hell, there were old cowboy massacres. No, they care now. Why? Because they don't want the citizens fighting back. And they're galvanizing the country. So when they put that law out saying you're supposed to turn your guns in and you don't, you are now a criminal. That's what those FEMA camps are for. You know, they're going to want to put you in one of those prisons where they make money on you. Having a prison for profit is obscene. We're an evil country, ladies and gentlemen. We have gotten sidetracked from American values. We don't torture prisoners. You know, we don't pay prison guards more money to keep the guys in there. You know, we don't have people rotting in jail for smoking marijuana while our leader in charge was in the Shoom Club, going around smoking weed all the time. Oh, I guess it's convenient that Obama didn't get caught smoking pot and have some kind of record, because then the CIA would have had to work overtime to fucking put together his background so that nobody knew. And all you sons of bitches at Columbia University, you're all Frankfurt School of Engineering libtards, you son of a bitch. That place needs to just justify. So they have FEMA camps. They have 2 billion bullets. And they're gonna have drones. And if people think for 1 second they're not going to have armed drones, you're an idiot. Why wouldn't they? If they're willing to shove their hands down a woman's pants on the side of the road, they are not going to have a problem sitting in some air-conditioned control center in Nevada, shooting a little red dot at you with a big red dot when it hits, and they're going to high-five each other. Meanwhile, your house is gone. But remember, they want to turn everything back to the wild. So they're not going to play around. They're not going to throw any SWAT at you. Maybe initially, there'll be a bunch of those Randy Weaver incidences. But later on, they're going to let the robots do it. And those evil sons of bitches are going to hide. Do you think any person of notability who's on the circuit right now saying shit about guns and gun control doesn't have a gun or have guards guarding them? So, let me get this straight. I want to understand this. Your 5-year-old, your 6-year-old precious little kid is in a room with a bunch of other little kids, and a 45-year-old woman. You're all terrified. You're holding the goddamn door. There's an asshole who's been playing video games and masturbating for the last 3 months, coming through and shooting everybody. Let me just put this to you, okay? Your little kid is laying at the feet of that scared to shitless teacher. Wouldn't you want her to go in her purse and get out her little badass snub-nosed 38? I mean, a 9, a 22, something. And when that asshole kicks the door open, that old gal's standing right there. Boom, boom, boom. Over. It's over. How many people got killed? 5 instead of 20. That's really what we're talking about. I know what we should do. We should just throw the Constitution out, throw it in the trash. Who cares about the Second Amendment? Things are different now. You know, government's not a tyranny anymore. Just throw that out in the trash so that we might be able to save 5 or 6 people per massacre. That's what you guys want. We'll get rid of our gun rights that protects us from tyranny to save 5, 6, 10, 11 people from a massacre. Not even mentioning how many people died from smoking cigarettes yesterday. Put it in perspective. How many people died from slipping in their bathtub? How many people died from actually stabbing themselves? How many people died from falling off their bicycle and getting a brain injury? You know, put it in perspective. No, what we do, goddamn libtards, is show these little kids pictures. And those vultures from the main media going in and interviewing a 6-year-old kid. I was scared. I heard lots of boom sounds. The teacher told me to stay over here and just kiss our asses goodbye, and we all cowered in the corner when this masked CIA-looking dude busted in the room and shot Johnny and shot Susie and shot JD. We just stood there praying for the police. Not me. If I was that teacher, I'd go get some goddamn training. And when that asshole burst through the door, AK or not, if I had my 9mm, boy, boom, 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 you'd be gone. Incident over. Isn't that better? Wouldn't that be better? It's nothing more than a step-by-step progression to the New World Order. The only thing standing in the way of the New World Order are the semi-automatic weapons in the United States. The whole world, the freedom of the entire world is now hinging on those constitutionalists, those libertarians, all those right-wing domestic terrorists with their evil semi-automatic weapons. That is what's buttressing the freedoms in this world. The whole world is hinging on whether Americans that own their weapons and understand what the Constitution is all about are going to put their foot down. I have the feeling we're going to need to cut this country in half because libtards cannot be argued with. They won't listen. They're blind. You can't argue with a sheep. So if you got your semi-automatic weapons, you're going to have to make a choice. First, they're going to want you to turn it in voluntarily. The nanosecond that you do not turn in your weapon, you are now a criminal. And you better think about that. Either you turn in your weapon, or you're a criminal. And if you're a criminal, You're going to go to a FEMA camp, and they are so full of people, they're going to cut your goddamn head off. They're going to get a guillotine. You're going to be a domestic terrorist. They're going to cut your head off. They'll sweep you under the rug. No one will ever know what happens to you. How in God's green earth do we allow the NDAA? It's treason! It's treason! That's it! They're killing people because they accuse them of something! You think for 1 minute they're not gonna put a bomb on your house? They don't care. You got Obama up there wiping his tears. He's a reptile. You know, I'm starting to believe in what David Icke says. They're goddamn demons and reptiles. They don't care.
Shopping mall in Oregon.
Myths, fallacies, and irrational good intentions. The rule of law is constantly rejected, and authoritarian answers are offered as panaceas for all our problems.
Gold will be seen as an alternative to paper money as it returns to its historic role as money. Erosion of civil liberties here at home will continue as our government responds to political fear in dealing with the terrorist threat by making generous use of the powers obtained with the Patriot Act. Many American military personnel and civilians will be killed in the coming conflict. The leaders of whichever side loses the war will be hauled into and tried before the International Criminal Court for war crimes. The United States will lose the war, but neither will we win. Our military and political leaders will not be tried by the International Criminal Court. The Congress and the President will shift radically toward expanding the size and scope of the federal government. This will satisfy both the liberals and the conservatives. Military and police powers will grow, satisfying the conservatives. The welfare state, both domestic and international, will expand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last nail is being driven into the coffin of the American Republic, yet Congress remains in total denial as our liberties are rapidly fading before our eyes. The process is propelled by unwarranted fear and ignorance as to the true meaning of liberty. It is driven by economic
and satisfying the liberals. Both sides will endorse military adventurism overseas. This is the most important.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last nail is being driven into the coffin of the American Republic, yet Congress remains in total denial as our liberties are rapidly fading before our eyes. The process is propelled by unwarranted fear and ignorance as to the true meaning of liberty. It is driven by economic myths, fallacies, and irrational good intentions. The rule of law is constantly rejected, and authoritarian answers are offered as panaceas for all our problems.
Gold will be seen as an alternative to paper money as it returns to its historic role as money. Erosion of civil liberties here at home will continue as our government responds to political fear in dealing with the terrorist threat by making generous use of the powers obtained with the Patriot Act. Many American military personnel and civilians will be killed in the coming conflict. The leaders of whichever side loses The war will be hauled into and tried before the International Criminal Court for war crimes. The United States will lose the war, but neither will we win. Our military and political leaders will not be tried by the International Criminal Court. The Congress and the President will shift radically toward expanding the size and scope of the federal government. This will satisfy both the liberals and the conservatives. Military and police powers will grow, satisfying the conservatives. The welfare state, both domestic and international, will expand, satisfying the liberals. Both sides will endorse military adventurism overseas. This is the most important